Welcome back to Journal Sunshine. I have something really fun to show you today that I've been meaning to include in a video, my Hobonichi 5-year journal. This is something that I decided I wanted to try. I, in the past, have used a 5-year journal, a different brand, and I got through about 3 years before I stopped using it and thought, you know what, I've been journaling a lot recently, and Hobonichi is a brand that I had been meaning to get into. So actually last fall I purchased this and I have been enjoying it a lot. I've been keeping up with it for no problem for the first few months, except in one situation, which is when I travel. And that's because it's kind of big and I didn't want to bring it with me. And so my plan was to catch up when I get home and I have my supplies in front of me. And I wanted to show you what that looks like today. I have my A6 Hobonichi 5-year in a Sojourner Trifolio. It is sized specifically for the 5-year, which is thicker than your typical A6 notebook, so definitely check that out. Not a lot of companies make an A6 cover that's specifically sized for this notebook, so I'm glad that they did. It is the Trifolio in the leather that they call Caribou. It's a pull-up leather. It's beautiful and smooth, and it has the scoop pocket in the front in the color Natural. I also have a really cute charm on there from my favorite charm maker, EastEndAlchemy on Etsy. She doesn't have charms in her shop super often, but when she does post them, I jump in and I buy them. I have a whole bunch. They're really, really beautiful. But this is what the cover looks like. On the inside, there is a little slit there where you can, like basically a little extra pocket, and it has this flap that goes over the right side of the notebook, which helps protect it, which is one of the reasons why I picked this cover. I know that if I'm going to be using this for the next 5 years, I want it to stay in good shape. You can also see that I have some stamps up here and some fountain pens that I'm going to use to decorate this. I do stay pretty simple with my decorations in this notebook because I have seen examples of people who have added a lot of stickers and photos and the notebook falls apart. There are too many pages. Some folks like that. That's okay with me. I'm being really careful with it, at least for the first couple of years. And then as I get to use it more, I think I might venture into adding some more things to the pages, but I'm not in the first year, for sure. So I'm starting off by writing out the month in English. I believe it's there in Japanese, aside from the number. And this is the TWSBI Eco with a broad nib using the ink Diamine Polar Glow, which is a sheening ink, so I tend to use it for headings like this pretty regularly. It's very pretty. It's like a shiny blue and red. It's very cool. I write the month name in the same style every day, but the ink color changes each month. So I, at the start of a month, decide either I already have a fountain pen inked up that I want to use, or I ink up a new one with this specific purpose. And yeah, so it's just like little curly capital letters with one side thickened a little bit. And then I'm gonna go in and write in my first little day spot up in the top left. This pen is the Benu Talisman, and the ink in it is the Robert Oster Chocolate Pudding. I have made a video in the past about this pen and ink combination if you're interested in seeing more about it. But as you can see here, I actually don't keep to the grids. I think they're a little bit smaller than I would like my writing to be, and so I kind of write on like a box and a half. I mostly just use the horizontal lines as a guide and just write whatever size I feel like I should. And I am pretty consistent with this. I just kind of write down either a big thing that happened that day or the best thing that happened that day. And it's fun. It's fun to kind of sit at the end of each day and think about what happened that day and focus on something good and end on a good note. In this case, where I knew I would be filling them out about a week later, I brought another journal along with me that I could kind of write about my day in, and I've been referring back to that to remember what happened which day on my trip. Speaking of the trip, this particular adventure is a one that I went on with my son, and we drove up to New York to the Catskills and went to go stay in a house with my parents and siblings, and it was really fun. It was really good to see them. It was kind of a long weekend. And after the last few years, it was really good to go somewhere new for once. It had been a while. And so I decided for this notebook, because I didn't want to bulk it up with stickers, that I would use stamps. And I've been really enjoying these clear stamps lately, and I have a bunch of travel-themed ones that I hadn't had a chance to use for obvious reasons. And so I think what I'm going to do for this, I'm keeping just my thoughts about the day over in the section on the left for 2022, and then over on the right side I am going to elaborate a little bit and include some stamps just to kind of get some visual interest over on the right side of the page. All of the stamps that I'm using in this video are from Everyday Explorers Co., and this particular stamp set is called Passport, in case they still have it and you want to grab the same one. I love these stamps because they have a place where you can fill in the blank with a city or the day or whatever it might be for the individual stamp. I think that's really clever, and it's almost like a sticker that you would fill out, but you get to reuse them, so that's pretty great. I have another video about how to use these clear stamps if you haven't used them before, and I find them to be much easier to use than rubber stamps because you can see through them and know exactly where you're placing it, make sure it's not upside down. There's less room for error than there is with rubber stamps where you can't see the image, so that's pretty cool. So I inked it up with Versa Magic ink. I really like this for Tomoe River paper like they have in the Hobonichi planners, just because it doesn't bleed through. You can kind of see it ghosting on the other side, but for such thin paper, it's pretty ideal for stamping. I tested it on some scrap paper just because I want to make sure I have it properly inked up. And then once I was happy with the way those were looking, I stamped it on the page and it turned out okay. This stamp says the adventure begins, so I took my Kaweco All Sport in Vibrant Violet and wrote in the city that we were going to. This was our travel day, so it made sense to use this stamp. And the ink that I'm using here is J. Herbin's Poussiere de Lune, which is a kind of medium purple. It's really smooth and really lovely to write with, and it's a cartridge, so that was super convenient for the Kaweco Sport pens. I added a little bit of writing with the chocolate pudding ink. I also always make sure when I'm putting something on the right side of the page that I label it with the year, because there aren't those lines to separate it like there are on the left, and I don't want to get confused in the future, so that's there for that reason. And then we get to turn the page. This next fountain pen is one of my favorites. It's the Rose Gold TWSBI Diamond Mini. with a extra fine nib, and the ink in this one right now is Private Reserve Ebony Purple, which is it's almost a black, but it's got a purple tinge to it, which is pretty cool. And it makes the extra fine really juicy, which I like because after I bought this one, I started using more medium nibs. So I may get a replacement nib for this one in the future or get another of this pen that has a bigger nib. I haven't quite decided yet. I wish it came in more colors because I love it. So for the next stamp, it says, "Oh, hello," and it has these little postcards on it, which I thought was really cute. And I knew I wanted to place this one over on the left side of the right page, so I actually grabbed this writing board to make sure that I could get a flat surface because the pages were very rounded at that point, and I knew that I wouldn't get a good stamp impression. So I actually ended up liking it. It went okay. All right. Part of me is always a little bit nervous when I stamp, especially on something that I care about that I can't just cover up. So yeah, it worked out okay. I also pushed my luck by grabbing a second stamp. This is from one of the prompt sets, and it says a story from today because I had a funny story from that day and I knew I wanted to elaborate on what I put on the left-hand side. So going back to the Kaweco All Sport, this is one of the limited edition colors, Vibrant Violet. It's one of my favorite pens for sure. And the story I wanted to tell is we went out to a restaurant, which I rarely do these days. It was a special occasion, and so we were at a restaurant that happens to have a claw machine with stuffed animals in it, and on the way there my kid had heard about this and he said, "I'm gonna win a hippo. I'm gonna win a hippo." And my thought was, how does he know that there's even going to be a hippo in the claw machine? I feel like that's not a super common stuffed animal that you would find, and if he didn't run in halfway through dinner holding up a stuffed hippo that he won from the claw machine, it was a moment for sure that I wanted to remember. And so now it's in my journal and I can reflect back on it on the 20th of February every year when I flip to this page. And that's one of my favorite things about this 5-year journal is once I get through the first year, I get to read back what I had done on that day the year before and the year before that, and it's just such a cool concept, and I hope I can keep up with it because I love the idea of having this. I really enjoyed the last time I tried to get through one of these journals. Also, you might have noticed whenever I turn the page, I always move this blotting sheet. I bought it from Nanami Paper Co. I have it in a couple sizes and I just cut it down for whatever notebook I need. That way, if the ink is still drying, which it usually is with Tomoe River paper and fountain pens, I don't have to worry about the transfer on the other side of the page, and everything works out okay. For the last day on our trip, I pretty much follow the same steps that I was following for the other ones, but I wanted to mention, you may have noticed that I've been kind of switching back and forth between these 4 different fountain pens, and I wanted to kind of talk about that process a little bit. I don't usually plan the whole color scheme in advance. Every time I have a pen run out of ink, I clean it out and I look at what I have left and I choose an ink color that I think would go well with the current lineup of colors that I have. That way it kind of shifts over time, and sometimes the color combinations are more successful than others. Sometimes I ink up a new one that I haven't used before and I go, oh dear, I gotta keep that one in a separate notebook. But yeah, it's kind of fun. It's a little bit of an adventure, kind of unpredictable, but this was in February, so I had kind of a Valentine's Day with the chocolate and the reds and the pinks and the purples happening, and I actually really did like this color combination. I thought this was a good one. This is a good time in my fountain pen history when all of the ink colors managed to work out well together. For the stamp on this one, we were in the car for a fair amount during the day and we were listening to a lot of music, and so I picked this currently listening to stamp, which I thought was really fun. And the song that we listened to a lot during the drive was Don't Lose Sight by Lawrence, one of my favorite songs for sure. And I like this idea because every year when I get to this page, I can add to it. I can write, what am I currently listening to? And so I should probably use these like currently seals stamps that Everyday Explorers Co. makes, because I should use them more often is what I'm saying, because I think they're perfect for this 5-year journal. The idea that every year I'll have a different answer to that prompt is so cool. And yeah, I've been really enjoying this. I hope you enjoyed getting to watch me catch up in my 5-year journal. And in the comments below, I would love to hear, do you keep a journal like this? What have your experiences been like? And if you haven't, is this something that you would want to try? I'd love to hear your recommendations and thoughts in the comments. And I hope that you have a really great day. See you next time.